Oh, hello. Looks like my computer is not plugged into the system. Whoops. Hi, good morning, Coding Train members. Whoop. There we go. I'm here today to do a member-only recording session for the Data and APIs playlist. And I don't usually record on Thursday morning. And the film class that's in the room right back here is playing something very, very loud. But I assume that you can't hear that and that it's only really quite distracting for me. Yes, for those of you who are watching this while you're at work, please do not get fired. Although this is educational, possibly work-related. I don't know, I can make a good case for that. So what I'm going to do just for a minute here is get myself set up and figure out where I last left off. And I will do that in silence. Documents. Oh, so I'm looking actually, I see the YouTube chat. I would say, so there's a nice little spirit in the YouTube chat. Usually I look only at the Slack chat during a member-only live stream, but I like to see that there's a chat going on in the YouTube live chat. So Chris, if you haven't caught a live stream for a while, this is a little bit different than my regular live streams like the one that I did yesterday, where this is a bit more of just a work session. I am recording some tutorials during it, but this is slightly less interactive or performance. I'm just kind of looking for people who are available to tune in to help give me tips and feedback. But a lot of the content today will be recorded actually with just this view. And Mathieu is adding animations and things after the fact. Okay, so desktop data are working. Oh, intro. Okay, and I'm still in module 2. And this reminds me, I am recording to disk, and I am now also going to set a screen capture to go. I'm hoping to do this till about 12:30. Boy, would I love to be done with all the rest, second part of Module 2 and all of Module 3 by 12:30. What's the chances of that? Very slim. New screen recording. Let's give it a little clap. Hit record. Click. So now the screen is recording. What's the last released video that made use of the post-production animations? I believe that would be the black hole video, Alka. But we have not released any of the data and APIs videos that have animations in them. Mathieu and I are putting together like an unlisted playlist with rough cut draft versions of these, which I would be happy to share with the community. So ping MathBlank in Slack about that, but we will discuss that. I'm seeing all sorts of names that I don't entirely recognize. I think maybe because the noise of the regular live streams sends them by. So hello to, Ben Harvey's name I recognize, but I haven't seen Ben Harvey in the chat recently, although Ben Harvey may have definitely been there. Kobe, am I pronouncing your name correctly? Hi, Kobe. I think new members are with the dot image. So Kobe must be a new member. Chris Pilcher, I know I've seen the name and face before, but not in a while. And Zaylok, that's new. Maybe you're a new member as of like yesterday. I'm going to soft launch something exciting for members right now. So I did hire a community manager for the Coding Train, and they are starting to work really as of yesterday, but we're getting sort of set up with things, and I'll be announcing more about that in Slack. soon. I am also traveling to YouTube headquarters next week. That's why I can't live stream next Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. So I'm going there just for like a visit. Got invited to a thing, so that should be interesting. Hopefully, learn about stuff there. Kobe subscribed during yesterday's live stream. Oh, wonderful. Not on the Slack yet. Okay, so let's see if we can get Kobe a Slack invite. And there's also Jonas. There was like a message from someone named Jonas or Jonas. Maybe I'll try to do some of those now. Did you get the Google? So today I posted the YouTube chat correctly to, this private live stream correctly to the community tab, so there shouldn't be anyone in there who's not a proper member. So if we want to post that Google form to the chat, that's fine. Yeah, Ben, what's your Slack name? I'm trying to like match people with how I know them. So let's see. Let me get that Google form open. What is it called? Sponsors. Okay. This is the other reason why it's useful to do these member-only live streams. I'm sorry that I announced them so last minute. I'm afraid if I announce them more in advance and then have to cancel, that's more disappointing than just announcing it last minute. But maybe I should try to do them more in advance. I try to give you like a tentative, like, oh wait, I see Jonas, Kobe. Yes, I see Kobe. And then there was someone named Davis who is EAZL. So I have to just check. The one thing I do is I double check to make sure they're actually a sponsor. So give me a second here. Gomako. Okay, of course. Okay, now I'm making that connection. Okay, thank you, Ben. So now I'm going to community. And as I go to community, the very first comment 2 minutes ago on the processing 6.4 variable scope video is, "You are so cringy." So I'm going to memberships. Okay, here we go. And now I'm looking for member since. So Kobe I see is there. Dusty Circuit. Now I'm looking for, I'm going to send these invites in a second. Looking for EAZL. Yep, that's a legitimate member who has almost 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. So who is EAZL, who I'm about to, Career Power is the channel. Easel. Career Power. Online school that fits your life. Cool, interesting. Okay, so let me send these invites. Coming in just a moment to Jonas, Davis, and Kobe. Invite people. Add many at once. Enter multiple email addresses. Add invitees. So everybody, the invites just came. The other thing that I could do is I can create an invite link, but I kind of like doing it by email address. Okay. Great. Okay. Great. I like to do these little like housekeeping things also during these member-only live streams. All right. So let's see. Okay, so I'm in module 2. And then I am saying node index.js. So if you haven't tuned into one of these member-only live streams, what I'm doing is a new playlist. Let me pull up a new playlist of content. Let me pull up my outline and status. So if you want to follow along, there's some information about this in this README here, and there's like code and stuff that I'm pushing here, although I haven't been keeping that up to date. But and actually, I should do that now. But what I want to show you is this outline. So these are all the videos that I intend to release by the end of May. And you can see here that this is what I've recorded. So far, 1, 2, 3. It's like a ton of new videos that are going to come out on the channel all at once, which is a little bit insane. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So there's 11 so far. And based on how I'm thinking about this, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more for me to do, plus maybe a wrap-up video. And then I would need to do an intro video, a trailer video, and I don't know if I'm going to get to this. Mostly it's my own fault that I'm not going to get to this, but the idea for this inspiration video is I was thinking about asking 3 or 4 data artists to just record their own voiceover, 1 to 2 minutes, narrating one of their projects, and then we would put that into a video and create the visuals for it. Oh, Ben Harvey's name has updated. I'm supposed to ask. I'm supposed to do a survey about merchandise. Anyway, so many things. Okay. I'm thinking of them all at once. All right. Okay. So at a minimum today, I want to finish off Module 2. Because in theory, once I want to start releasing the videos for Module 1, even before I've done the introduction, I think. But here we go. Okay, so let me see where I am. If I go now to localhost 3000, and that gets the latitude and longitude, and then I need to open up the code. And I'm here in the server, and I can see here, that's the stuff that I've entered. So the next thing I'm going to add is an image, and then saving the image to the database, and then there's a logs. Right, there's like a view that's maybe all. That just lists them, okay, with no styling whatsoever. Because that's how I roll. Okay. Okay, great. Okay. That's a good amount of space for everything. I think actually if I move this over and then I'm just in front of this part, I think that's okay. But if I then do this, borderline. Okay, let's do that. Do that. Okay. 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 So I hesitate to. Oh, let me do this. Search Marketplace. What's a good DB syntax? What's a good extension for viewing this DB file? Like the SQLite one? SQL tools? File DB syntax. Let's look at this one. 4 stars, 274,000 downloads. 4 stars. This seems like extra complicated. Let's try this one. Can always uninstall it, right? Let me actually also, oh, I see the issue here. So let me git add module 2. What's in git ignore? Oh, I see. Yeah, it's just JSON data. I should be able to select JSON file. It's a little bit different than JSON because it's formatted as a single JavaScript JSON object each row. But hold on, I'm just doing something quick here. Where's git ignore? Working.mov. Let's also do that. Oh, crap. Shoot. I didn't realize that I didn't have node modules in my git ignore. How do I undo that? Yeah. Let's try this. Yeah, okay, good. Git ignore node modules. Undo, oh, really? Wow. There's an undo last commit in, okay. There we go, I like this. Okay. One thing that I meant to do is after each session, commit the code so that I have the code at every stage along the way with each video. But I've forgotten to do that. But I did it now. So next time I will do that. Okay. So. Okay. I don't need this. Okay, thank you, Simon, for that code. I'm going to use, this is the perfect opportunity for me to integrate P5 into this. Oh, looks like I have a new member who just joined. So I'm going to, but thank you. All right, so I'm moving this here. During these member-only live streams, I like to put the chat a little further away, also because I'm going to record a lot. God, I'm also going to wait for the loud sound to kind of go away. Can I make this a little higher? I have a brand new marker I brought with me. This is not it. One of these is the brand new marker. No. Definitely this one. I don't think I have this view on. Okay. Where is the eraser? Here it is. Okay. Can you hear the background sound? There's a film playing next door. It's very loud through the walls. But if it's not coming through to you, then I guess I'm okay. Okay. Index.js, database.js. So you're saying here I could, where do I have the view as JSON? That somebody was telling me that I can do? A little bit, okay. No, undo last commit JSON lines. Just rename the file. I'm not going to rename the file extension to JSON because you can set it to parse as JSON temporarily until the file is closed. It's interesting. Well, I'm not too worried about that anyway. So you can hear the sounds. That's unfortunate. Okay, bottom right. Ah, yeah. Select language mode. Aha. And then so you're saying if I close this and I open it, oh yeah, it's gone. That's interesting. There's got to be a way to make that permanent, but whatever. It's also look, it gets an error here. It thinks there's an error because it doesn't understand this as separate lines. I also don't care so much. I don't need this syntax highlighted. Okay. 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 JSON-L extension. Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to worry. I'm going to go on to more important things. Here we are. Oh, I don't have my diagram. Should I redraw that diagram? Let me find the unlisted video from last time. Mathieu, you're not watching this, are you? Because I just realized that it would be useful for me if you have this edited video, you know, just shared in a Google Drive. Because this, oh, you don't see what I'm saying. I could look at this one right now rather than go back to the live stream to figure out what I said last. Let me see if Mathieu is online. I don't think so. So let me just find that live stream. So I'm bringing this back. God, I gotta be faster about getting started here. Videos, member only. This is from April 24th. This would have been very much towards the end. Another div called geo for the I launched it. Hold on, pull in my div equal by putting organize these and then right. Anyways, I have implemented all of the pieces. I have client-side. All right, let's recreate this drawing one more time. Last time recreating this drawing. Index.js database. Host static files index. Authentication. Executed. In back and forth. All right, that's loosely the diagram.
JavaScript that's collecting some data. That data is then passed off to the server, saved to a database, and also the client, I can make a request to look at everything that's in the database. So this would work if I deploy this to some server somewhere and let people use it. I now have this app. Now there's no user accounts, there's many things missing, but the sort of story of this project is complete. The things that I think you would want to consider adding here are, well, maybe there's some other kind of interesting data that you want to capture about yourself through this web application. One of the things that I want to do is just add an image from a webcam. I want to use the P5 library, which is a creative coding JavaScript library that I use in tons of videos and on this channel that I have. So I want to add that in, but maybe you want to connect to another API, get the weather information. You might think about what kind of data, but also you might really want to think about how you're presenting this back. So maybe you want to think about the layout, add some CSS. You might also want to think about the navigation overall. I mean, right now I just have these two pages, right? I have this page for entering data, and that's just at the root index.html. Then I just have to know to go to all.html to get to this page. But maybe there should be some overall navigation between these two pages. Maybe you want to change this into a single page web app where everything's on one page. So play around with this a little bit, and just really as a bonus, I'm going to come back and add one more feature. So in the next video, I'm going to use the P5 library to get an image from the webcam, have that image passed to the server and saved in the database as well. How I do that, well, I'll get into that in the next video, and that'll be the sort of little button to put on this to wrap it up in a nice bow and complete this project.
Okay, great. I think I know where I am. Okay, that's helpful. I'm mentally where I was. File.associations star.db. Okay. All right, I'm going to follow Alka's instructions here. This is interesting. So I go to the settings JSON. And I can add file.associations star.db JSON. So that should do that. I have to like reload. Oh, open settings JSON. So then press Command-Shift-P. Open settings JSON. Oh, whoops, I misspelled it. Hmm? Choose the one without the default and then add the above to the top level. I don't know why it's giving me. Files. Thank you. There we go. There we go. Oh, this really bugs me. Oh, this really bugs me. I don't like that. I almost don't. I can't tolerate it in there with that. I can probably turn off this error, but just curious. Okay, I'm not gonna worry. Okay. Capturing images. Let's go for this. This should be the easy part for me. Okay. All right, so maybe before the next video, I'm going to at least add a nav bar. I will say home. Wait. Enter. List. What does this look like if I... Whoops. Why did the light just kind of go out? That's weird. You know, I left these lights on overnight by accident, which I never do. This one just went dim, but that's fine. Enter takes me here. List takes me there. Okay, that's my little nav bar. And here is... root. Let's make this a paragraph element. There we go. That's much better. Okay. So now I have a little nav bar. Why is it not getting the latitude, longitude? Why is it not getting my latitude, longitude? That's weird. Oh, there we go. It just is being incredibly slow. Weird. All right. Great. Okay. GPS had to wake up, indeed. Okay. Now I'm ready. I am ready. What the? Oh yeah, no, fine. Okay. Okay, here we go. Time to get something done. Got like an hour and a half. Why this LED light just like completely went out, but I think oh, weird. Who knows? I'm not going to worry about it. Okay. The light is good enough. I'm back to finish off the Data Selfie app with one more feature. And I'm very excited about this feature because I am going to use a library called P5JS for this. If you've... Okay. I think I know what I'm going to say. I'm back to finish off this Data Selfie app with one more feature. And that feature is taking images from the webcam and adding them into the database as well. Okay. I'm back to finish off this Data Selfie app project with one more feature. Taking a snapshot of your face from the webcam and saving that to the database as well each time the user presses submit. Now, I'm really excited about this feature because it's the chance for me to integrate the P5JS library. Usually, if you watch any other videos on this channel outside of this playlist, do I dare say course? Probably shouldn't say course. It's okay to say course, whatever. I'm going to say course. Recording to disk, of screen recording, I'm there, everything's good. Hi. I am back to I don't need the bell every single time. I am back to finish off this Data Selfie app project with one more feature. Taking a snapshot from the webcam and saving that to the database each time you press the submit button as well. So I'm really excited about this feature because it's finally a chance for me to use the P5JS library. If you've watched other videos on this channel, Pico 8. Minimalism. I am back to finish off the Data Selfie app with one more feature. What I'm going to do in this particular video is get the feed from the webcam, the camera of this, where is it, this laptop right here, and when the user presses submit, take a snapshot and save that in the database as well. And this is the perfect opportunity for me to get to finally use the P5JS library in this video. So P5JS library, if you've watched any of the videos outside of this course on my channel, it's kind of the primary. The P5JS library, if you've watched videos on my the P5JS library, if you've watched other videos on my channel, I tend to use something called processing quite a bit and P5JS. So P5JS is a JavaScript library for drawing and animation, creative coding. It's, what do I want to say here? I am back to finish off the Data Selfie app with one more feature. And that feature is adding something else to the database, namely an image from the webcam. So this is the perfect opportunity, I'm very excited about this, to use the P5JS library in this project. So actually, it's kind of strange this particular course, this playlist of videos, isn't using P5JS because it's a thing I use in basically everything all over my channel. But I wanted to take this opportunity to take a little break from that and then piece it back in where it can make the biggest contribution. So P5JS is a creative coding JavaScript library. It is maintained and developed by the Processing Foundation, originally created, It is maintained and developed by the Processing Foundation. The lead maintainer is Lauren McCarthy, and then there are many other people who contribute to the project as well. The P5JS library is maintained by the Processing Foundation, a nonprofit that I will work on and help to. The P5JS library is a JavaScript library for creative coding. It's maintained by the Processing Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization. Let me get its mission here on my screen. Little Processing Foundation plug. The P5JS library is a JavaScript library for creative coding. Yeah, I'll say created by Lauren. The P5JS library is a JavaScript library for creative coding. It was created by Lauren McCarthy and is maintained by the Processing Foundation, an organization that I am intimately involved with. Intimately? That sounds weird. If somebody wants to like completely redo my Wikipedia page, boy, would I appreciate that. I feel like it's just kind of like stuffy and weird and got like strange reference. It needs more like rainbows and silly things on it. The P5JS library is created by Lauren McCarthy and is maintained by the Processing Foundation, which is an organization that I like how Simon is giving me a script. One of these days I'll put a teleprompter there. That's good. The P5JS library is created by Lauren McCarthy and is maintained by the Processing Foundation. The Processing Foundation is a nonprofit mission to promote software literacy within the visual arts and visual literacy within technology-related fields, and to make those fields accessible to diverse communities. So I'm going to use that library to open up a connection to the webcam, to display the webcam's image on a HTML5 JavaScript canvas, and then to take the data from that image and pass it to the database. The rest of all this will, everything else, P5JS is, I'm going to use P5JS to open up a connection to the webcam, display the image from that webcam. Actually, I don't even need on a cam. Yeah. I actually don't need the canvas. It's fine. I'm going to use the P5. I'm going to use the P5. I'm going to use the P5JS library to open up a connection to the webcam, show the image from the webcam on the web page, and grab the data from that image and send it to the server. Oh. Was I green screening there the whole time? I hope so. So this is another feature I'm going to add here. P5 create video. Hold on, let's actually like write that out correctly. So this is another feature that I'm going to add here in the client-side JavaScript. The client-side JavaScript is doing the geolocation, and it is now going to call the P5 function create video to create that video. That video is going to be viewed in the client's browser, but then when the submit button is, the data from that image will get sent to the server and stored into the database. Okay, great. Okay. First step that I need to do to use the P5JS library is reference it in my index.html page. And I'm going to reference it from the CDN, the Content Delivery Network. The first thing that I need to do to use the P5JS library is make a reference to the library in my HTML page itself. Now the first thing that I need to do to use the P5JS library is grab the URL for the library itself from the CDN, the Content Delivery Network, and place that into my index.html file. So let me do that right here. You can see as of the time of this recording, the most recent version is 0.8.0. I'm going to copy this link. I'm going to go over to my code into index.html, and I am going to where? I don't have any libraries imported right now? That's crazy. How do I do this? Script source. That's good enough for me. I'm going to go over to the HTML, and in the head tag, I'm going to add script source equals, and then the URL of the P5 library. Ooh, I copied the wrong one. How weird. Oh, weird. Okay, let me start over. Okay, now I know what I'm doing here. I've got it now. The first thing that I need to do, in order to use the P5 library, I can go to the, hold on. Actually, let's getting started. Okay, perfect. No, Okay. There are a variety of ways I can use the P5JS library in a project. And in fact, there's even a There's a variety of ways I can use the P5JS web editor in a project. And in fact, there's a variety of ways that I can use the P5JS library in a project. In fact, there's actually a whole P5JS online web editor. But that's not what I'm doing here. To integrate the library into the code that I'm building locally in Visual Studio Code on my computer, I don't want to mention Visual Studio Code. Yeah. Oh, the copy drop down. Good. Yeah. The copy dropped down, all right. There are a variety of ways that I can use the P5JS library. There are. There are a variety of ways that I can use the P5JS library. In fact, there's a whole P5JS online web editor for making P5JS sketches right there in the browser. But what I want to do here is integrate P5JS library into this project that I'm building that involves Node and a bunch of other pieces that you've been watching me do along the way. So the way that I'm going to do that is navigate over to the Getting Started page for P5JS. I'm going to look for this link called P5JS CDN, or Content Delivery Network. That's a hosting service that will host the library for me. That's a hosting service. A content delivery network is a hosting service that will deliver you content. And the content that I want is the P5JS library. So I can click here, and then I can grab, you can see as of the time of this writing, the current version is 0.8.0. What I want actually is p5.min.js. It's the What I want to use is p5.min.js. When you see a JavaScript library, there's often what's known as a minified version and a non-minified version. So if I wanted to really peek in and read the source code myself, I would get the bigger P5JS file. But if I'm just using the library, it's going to be a smaller file size and make things kind of a little snappier. So let me go, and I can actually just go here under copy, and I can do copy script tag is what I want. And then if I come here into my HTML file, I can go into the header, and right above title, I'm just going to paste it in. That should give me the script tag for the P5JS library. Now, interestingly enough, you might have noticed on this page, there's a bunch of things listed. There's like P5DOM, P5Sound, P5DOM.min. Well, I already covered the minified thing, but the P5 library has several different components to it. So the core library that you're pretty much always going to want is just P5.min.js. I also want to use the DOM library. That's where the functionality for using the webcam is. And if I wanted to integrate, there's other functionality in there too, but that's the functionality I'm looking for. If I wanted to have sound in my project, I could also look at the P5 sound library. And I'll link to all bazillion, and I'll link to, and I'll link to my 7 billion, bazillion, quadrillion P5 tutorials. And I'll link to numerous P5JS tutorials that I have on this channel in the video's description if you want to check those out. All right, so let me grab this, copy script tag, and there we go. All right. Now, I'm finally ready to write some code with the P5JS library itself. Now, I'm finally ready to write some code with the P5JS library itself. P5 operates Now I'm finally ready to write some P5JS. Now I'm finally ready to write some P5JS Now I'm finally ready to write some P5JS code itself. First thing that I want to do is I'm going to add something called a setup function. Function setup. P5 looks for this function as the equivalent of Do I want to put all this other stuff in the setup function? I kind of do. I can finally now write some P5JS code. So the first thing with any P5JS sketch that you might create is to, now I can finally write some P5JS code. First thing that I'm going to want to add to my sketch is a function called setup. There's a little bit of an oddity about the way that P5 works. That's a little different than other JavaScript libraries, but P5 looks for a function called setup in your global namespace, meaning it's just right there, in this case, in my script tag. Setup is the equivalent of window on load or jQuery's ready function. It's the function that gets executed when when the web page is loaded and everything is ready to go. So one thing that I could do is I could take all of this other stuff that I have, why not, and just put it in the setup function. So let's make sure that adding the setup function, adding the P5 library, and adding the setup function still works. So I'll go to the browser, and I'm just going to refresh my page, and it's taking a little while to get the latitude and longitude. There, it got it. You'll see that, whoa, there's this blank space there. Why is there a blank space there? Well, P5 will automatically add a HTML5. P5 will automatically add a canvas to your page. So actually, most of P5 is set up to draw. So if I were to go to the end of setup here and add background 255.00, that's a red background, and hit refresh, you can see, oh look, there's a red canvas. Now the truth is I don't actually need a canvas for this project, so I'm actually going to add a line of code called no canvas. And then the thing that I do need is I need the image from the webcam. So I'm going to say const video equals create capture video. Const video equals create const video equals create capture video. And this just reminded me that I've made a mistake. And I said create video here, which is a P5 function. That's for a local video file, like a movie file that you might load. So actually what I want is create capture. I'm capturing from the default video source of the computer, the webcam. I don't know, my nose is all sniffly all of a sudden. Going back and refreshing the page, first of all, it's asking me if I want to allow this web application to use the camera. And this is very important, right? You can't just have a web page open up somebody's webcam automatically. This is a huge security issue. And so there are lots of privacy and security questions that you want to be thoughtful about when building applications that that access a user's webcam. But here, for what we're sort of tinkering around and learning and practicing with, I'm happy with just allowing it. So I'm going to say allow. And you can see, there it is. Oh, look, and you can see that I am in front of a green screen. Hello, there's me. Now, it's quite large. I don't need it to be that large on the page. So I'm going to say, this is part of P5 as well now. Video size, and let's just make it 320 by 240. So now I have a smaller video image that's right there. Perfect. So what I want is when I hit submit, right, I'm going to say, happy. I want that image to also get sent to the server. How do I do that? Yeah, Simon, that's a good suggestion. I think I'm going to do like a last bit at the end to kind of just clean up the whole project. Oh, I forgot to mention that I added the enter list thing. Urgh. Shoot. Where would I want to put that in? Hold on, let's comment this out really briefly. So it looks like this. Oh shoot, it's not. Mathieu, I don't know if this is going to work, but what I'm about to try to do is somewhere earlier, I just want to say, before I get started with P5, let me quickly mention, let me try that. Before I get started with P5, let me quickly mention that I've just added something in between the last video and this, which is just a link at the top to go. Sorry, everyone. Okay. Turn that off. Okay. Before I get started with P5, let me just Before I get started with P5, I just want to point out that I've added a little bit of code since the last video, something very simple, but just to make it a bit more usable. I added 2 links on the web page between this data entry page where I'm hitting submit and adding a latitude, longitude, and then the list page which shows the things that are in the database. I also changed these to paragraph tags. I also changed these to paragraph elements from divs so that there's a little line break in between each. So now I can go back and forth easily between these 2 pages and also see the entries from the database with a little bit of formatting. Plenty to do for you who might be a designer watching these videos to add to this, but that's a little bit of that's a little bit of improvement from me. Plenty still to do for you who plenty still to do for you, a creative person possibly watching these videos, thinking about how you want to design this yourself, but a few small improvements so that I can work with this a bit more easily in this particular tutorial. Okay, so that's gonna get put in earlier in the video. Okay, so now if I go back to here, then I go back to here. Okay, and I'm here. Okay, great. So how do I want to do this? Dun, dun, dun. So I'm going to base 64 encode. Let's go. Thank you, Joey Lee, for helping me prepare all this stuff. Let's just go look at my cheat sheet here. Oh no, not in server. Public sketch.js. Image, post, body, image canvas to data URL. So I should be able to say, whoops. Oh, I don't have access to, because it's not a global variable. Just for right now. Okay, hold on. So I should be able to go to ELT canvas, or just to data URL. How do I get the pixels out of this? Without painting it onto a canvas. Let's see. So let me just do some cheating here for a second. There we go. No, that's not going to work. If I do video, there, that has that. So there is no canvas, but if I say load pixels, there is a canvas. There we go. Okay, great. Okay, so that's what I want to do. Okay, great. Okay. Okay, so that's what I want to do. To do this, I think it makes more sense. I don't know that the order. I'm realizing that the code would probably look a little. I'm realizing that the code would probably flow a little nicer if I move this to the beginning of the setup function. Because ultimately what I want to do is right here, when the user presses the button, I'm grabbing the latitude, longitude, and mood and posting that to the server. So I want to add one more thing, which is the data for the image. Now the way that what's a nice way of base 64 encoding? Yeah. Base 64, I have a question for those of you, I'm thinking about this. Base 64 isn't a way of packaging the data. There's no compression involved with base 64 encoding, right? You're still ultimately have the same amount of data. It's just a very convenient way of encoding the data as a string so that it's easy to pass it around the network. That's correct, right? So if I were doing if I were trying to stream a video, I wouldn't want to convert it to base 64 and then send the string constantly over the network. I would, something like JPEG compressing it and then UDPing the bytes would be better. I'm reading the discussion now. Yeah, binary data to ASCII data, yes. But this isn't really super important for the video, it's just for my own edification. It's not compressing the data at all. There's no compressing, yeah, okay. Base 64 encoding is a method to take some binary data, in this case the image, all the colors of the pixels of the image, and convert it to ASCII data, meaning a string of text. So this isn't doing anything to improve, this isn't doing anything to compress the image, it's just repackaging the same data in a format that's incredibly convenient to pass around. In other words, I need to send the webcam image from here to the server, and a really easy way to do that is by sending a string of text to the server. So if I can turn the image into a string of text, then I can send. If I can turn the image into a string of text, then I've got a nice way to post it to the server. In JavaScript, there's a in JavaScript, the HTML canvas API includes a function called toDataURL, which takes a canvas, presumably with pixels of information in it, and converts that to the base 64 encoding of that image. In P5, I can actually say that in P5, the video element itself has a canvas associated with it, video.canvas. So I can actually just say video.canvas to, whoops. In P5, the video element has a canvas associated with it. So I can say constant image equals video.canvas.toDataURL. So this is taking the video's canvas, converting it to base 64, and putting it in this variable image. And maybe what I'll call this image 64. So I know that this is the base 64 encoding of the image. The only thing is this won't actually work. So the video's canvas element is not there by default. I need to alert P5 to the fact that I want to use a canvas. And to do that, I say video.loadPixels. This means take that video element, load the pixels onto a canvas so that I can then convert it to base 64. And finally, I can then add that as a property, image 64, to the data that I'm posting. I can go to the server and I could go. I can add that image then as a property to the data that I'm posting. I can then go to the server, and if you recall, the post to the API of the server just takes the body of that request, the post request, and puts it right into the database. So it's already done. It should already be there. Let's give this a try. I'm going to refresh the page. I had mango for breakfast this morning, so I'm going to type in mango and give myself a big OK sign. And that image, we can see it's there. Look at all of this text that's in there. This is the base 64 encoding. Each character represents how many bits? This is the base 64 encoding of that raw pixel data. And now if I go to the database, I can see that the latest entry has that base 64 encoding. Now we need to have a talk. This isn't such... Now we need to have a talk. This perhaps isn't the best idea. Do I really want to include all of the data for the image in the database? Is this going to be the most efficient way to store this information? Almost definitely not. In fact, a more traditional strategy might be to save that image data to a file and then store the path to that file in the database itself. But in terms of this quick and dirty prototyping that I'm doing, this is a nice way to get started with this, and I'll leave that as an exercise to the viewer and something that I will include as supplemental code with this video, how to actually store this to a file on the server and then the path in the database itself. Six bits for each character, 24 for each pixel. Thank you, Simon, for all that information. Okay. Now the only thing left to do is to show the image here on the page that lists everything from the database. Just out of curiosity. So where is it? Oh, because, no? Why is it not getting mango? All goes to... That's weird. Shouldn't I get the new entry? It's in the database without rerunning the server. Where's my mango? I mean, I can... Did I mess up this database by like messing around with the file? I don't think so. Why is it not there? Oh, it's there. It's just unsorted. Oh, thank you. Sorry. Thank you. Okay, great. Is it like literally the last one? No, I don't see it. Rainbow, happy, unicorn. Is this one? Mango, there it is. And there's the image. Okay. I can see that it is here. I can see on the page that lists all the content that it's there, right there in the database. There's the base64 image. How do I then display that image? I don't know. Back to Joey's code. Logs. Can I just do image source it, right? Yeah, image source item.image. That's what it is. So how was I doing it? I would create an image element. Okay. Yeah. Okay, right. This is easy, actually. To do this, I'm going to head on over to where I'm creating the paragraph and div elements for all of the other content, and I'm going to now make an image element, document.create element img. This is an image element on the web page. And then what I want to put in there under source is the base64 encoded image. So if I then say image.source equals item.image64, root mood geo, and then, yeah, let's do this again. The good news is I already have the template basically for doing this. I can just, okay. To add the image, I can head over, I think, let me go back because I feel like this, I've lost the thread here. The only thing left for me to do now is to add the image to the page that lists all of the content from the database itself. Now, I'm consoling along what's in the database. You can see here, this is the most recent entry, and it includes the base64 image right there as a property that it's reading from the database. So this is actually, I already have the template for doing this. I just can head on over to the HTML, the JavaScript code for creating all those DOM elements, and I can make another one. Like I can say image equals document.create element img for image. Then, unlike I'm not putting text content into that image. Instead, I want to put the base64 encoded data itself, and I can do that with the source attribute. So I can say image.src equals image, and oh no, sorry, it equals what is it? Item.image64. So that's the base64 encoded data in the database item in the image element source attribute, and then add that to the page as well, right here, image. And if I go back and refresh, we're getting errors, right? We see, oh look, there's that image there, but we're getting errors because not all of the entries have images associated with them. So one way I could do something like error handling and see if there is an image or not, but let's actually just wipe the database clean and make a few more entries and see if this works. So maybe, Mathieu, this could be one of those sped up things. I'm going to manually delete the database like this, go back to the enter page, and make a bunch of entries. Oh, let me make the image a little smaller. That's fine. And make a bunch of entries. That's good enough. All right, I made 4 entries. There they are. You can see that they're all entered in the database. I can go to the code and see, like, look, here's the database file. Here's everything in there. And then now, in theory, if I go to list, there we go. We can see my entries into the database. Oh, and there's still, oh, because I didn't, shoot. I had to restart the server. Shoot. I can go over to list and see, here are my, I can go over to list and see, here are my entries into the database. And there they are. I now have the finished data selfie app. Sorting the data by timestamp would be good. That's a good exercise. Okay. I'm going to leave that as an exercise. Okay. Where are my time wise? 11:30. Trying to think. Yeah, I could make a wrap up video to refactor, clean up the code a bit, and suggest exercises. But I'm trying to think of like if that's really worth it. Because that's just going to be like 2 minutes long, and that might seem a little bit weird, but maybe that's fine. I'm thinking, because I could also just do that here at the end of this one. I mean, what other refactoring like is sort of crucial or important that's like simple enough to demonstrate beyond just, I guess I could put these in different folders. That might make a little more sense. And then I can have, yeah. So let me do that. I'll do that. So let's make a list. If anybody has other suggestions. So my list of things is to create a separate folder, maybe call it logs. That might make more sense. And then have also the JavaScript like in a separate file. I could also make a CSS file. I mean, I could add also like a boilerplate. Like, what did Joey use? Like, I think, maybe overlay slices. Like he uses like this, like CSS template, but that's not going to do anything for me. Like, what if I add this in? I'm just curious. And this isn't a web development course, so like I'm not going to start templating. I don't think I want to get into this, but I'm just sort of curious. That didn't do anything. All right. Yeah, I don't want to. I'm going to let people design themselves. All right. No other suggestions. So maybe I should just leave it in this video. Bye, K. Weekbon. I could also just reorganize the code, just sort of mention that and then just release it with it reorganized a bit. So I guess what I'm asking is, I don't want to add any new features to this, but in terms of like giving this to people as an example, what might be some important just sort of like cleanup things that I might want to do to like help have the example be more nicely packaged? And the only thing I can think of is to take the JavaScript out of the HTML file. That's a tiny enough thing that maybe I not even do that in the video, but just mention that that's a thing to do as an exercise and say I'll release the code that way. Or I could just do it here at the end of this video. Yes, so those are good. Those are good. Pierre, those are excellent ideas for me to offer as to the viewer as exercises. So I'm going to give them suggestions of things they could add to this. One of the things I was going to suggest is using something called Face API.js to get like more information about what's on your face, but like you're suggesting. Fixing my hair. Where is that? There it is. Smaller picture. Yeah. So smaller video source. That's a really easy one. Yeah, so maybe what I'll do is add a blank CSS file. Because I'm not, it's not going to be, this is not going to turn into a CSS lesson. That's a whole other can of worms. But let me restructure the, all right. Most people seem to think to go onto a separate video, so I guess I'll try that. All right, I think I have an idea now. Thanks for watching this module, creating the data selfie app. I'm going to do one more video here. Thanks for watching this module, creating the data selfie app. Maybe I'll just do it in front of this just in case. Thanks for watching this video. Oh, hold on. Thanks for watching this video. So this wraps up this module, creating the data selfie app. But I'm going to do one more video. It's probably going to be a very short one, but I'm going to come back and just do a few cleanup things, like move the JavaScript files into a separate file and show you how you could add CSS to, all right, yeah. This wraps up the data selfie app module. I built the project now. It's a sort of crude prototype, but a working version of the idea. So I'm going to do one more video. I'm going to come back in a separate video and kind of offer you some ideas, some exercise ideas of things that you might do to continue this. But also, I'm going to show you a few cleanup things that I think are worthwhile. for example, taking the JavaScript out of the HTML file and putting it in a separate file, where you would create, how you would create a CSS file if you wanted to start thinking about layout and design for your application. It's beyond the scope of what I want to do in this series, but I'll at least give you some pointers on how to get started with that. Okay. All right. So let's make a list of exercises. So, exercises are retrieve data from other APIs, like weather, going to show this in module 3. Server or client? Manipulate or analyze the image. Add CSS styling for layout. Should I mention anything about like using some kind of like templating engine? I mean, I don't really want to get, yeah, I'll just say add CSS. So these are my suggested exercises. And what I'm going to do is break out JS to separate file, create empty CSS file. And then I am going to reduce size of, sort. Sort the logs by timestamp. Reduce. Yeah, I think I don't need to do the image size. That's something that, you know, that's really more about like the sort of CSS layout stuff anyway. Yes, sort the listed data by descending timestamp. Okay, great. Okay. And foreshadow, in module 3 is going to be about using other APIs from Node and hiding your API keys and deploying it. That's really what I want module 3 to be about. Okay. I think maybe I'm going to finish today with just this, because I don't feel like it really makes a ton of sense for me to get started with the third module. I would like to just come back on a day where I can do the whole thing, because this like stopping and starting in the middle, like it just takes me so long to get back into what I was doing. So as much as I could do another half an hour and get started on this, I don't think that's like an efficient use of my time. Although maybe I can like poke around and look at it a little bit. Okay, so so foreshadow module 3, and the key new things I want to add are APIs from Node hiding keys. And deployment. Okay, so these are my notes. I guess I could just put this at the end. Normally where it would be. Whatever. Oh, image size. What's the size of the image that's saved to the database? I'm pretty sure it's doing a, yes, I see what you mean. So just out of curiosity, thank you for pointing that out. Let me, just curious here. If I, if I change this to like 80 by 60, will this trigger everything? And then go to list. Yeah, okay, great. So it's actually a smaller image. It's actually, this just does that, okay. Would the node file system package be enough for that? And path to database. Okay. What happens when you have thousands of entries? Okay, so these are exercises and things to think about. Okay. 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 Yeah. Great. Yeah, I'll do this in a separate video because there's a bunch of things to talk about. And Mathieu, you might need me to do some pretty serious content creation for stuff that's going to go behind me, but I'll talk this through and we'll figure it out. Okay. Okay. Welcome to the last video of Module 2. Oh, Module 2 makes sense. Data Selfie app. Welcome to the last video for the Data Selfie app. Now, before I move on to the third project in this series, I want to just do a little cleanup and suggest. Welcome to the last video for the Data Selfie app project. I'm soon going to move on to a new project, which really, and the focus of that. Okay, I can finish this. This is good. This is good. I have 40 minutes. Let me take a deep breath and get this done, and then all I have left is the last project to do at some point. Welcome to the last video for the Data Selfie app project. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of really important key things that I've missed in this project. A couple things, namely, are what if you wanted to get data from an API from Node itself? Why would you want to do that, and what kinds of possibilities emerge from doing that? Welcome to the last video for the Data Selfie app project. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of crucial stuff about building projects like this that I've missed in this series. And in this video, I just want to talk about some things, important things that I've missed, some of which will be addressed in the next project that I build, as well as things you might think about trying to do as exercises to augment the capabilities of this particular project. An important thing that I've missed is accessing data from an API from Node itself and authenticating that API and hiding your API keys. So this is going to be a central focus of the next project that I build. What if you want to load data from an external source within the Node server itself? And why would you want to do that? And what are some things to think about when doing that? Another thing that I haven't talked about at all is how to actually then put this project on the web somewhere. How to deploy it. Another thing that I haven't talked about at all is how to put this project on the web, how to deploy it. Right now I've got it running on my laptop here and I can tinker with it and I can play with it. But if I wanted this to be somewhere that multiple people could access, the database has many different users, there's a ton to think about there, but at least that first step of putting it online somewhere. I want to talk about that. That'll be part of the third project. But even so, there's a lot of, I think, important things that you could think about doing with, I'm not doing this in front of the green screen. That's good because I want to do it again anyway. What's over here? This is the mouse. Okay, move that out of the way. Here we go. Okay. Welcome to the last video. Okay. Welcome to the last video for the Data Selfie App project. What was I saying? Yeah, okay. Welcome to the last video for the Data Selfie App project. There are so many things that I haven't covered or talked about. And to some extent, the next module with another project will address some of these. Namely, what if you want to load data from another API, like get the weather information? What if you want to do that from Node itself rather than the client? Why would you want to do that, and what kind of possibilities emerge from doing that? So that I'm really going to address in the next project. Another thing that I really need to address is, well, how do I put this online so people could see it and use it? I need to host this Node server somewhere. So I'm going to look at a few different options for doing that and try to give you some tips for doing that as well in the next series. In the next project that I build. In the next project that I build, I'm going to try to look at some possibilities for doing that along with the next project that I'm going to build called The Weather Here, which is also a project by Joey K. Lee that I'm basing my examples off of. Why did I say Joey K. Lee? Just Joey Lee. His email address is Joey K. Lee, and I would say that. The other thing that I really need to address is, okay, well, what if you want to take the thing that you made and put it on the web somewhere so that people could see it and use it? How do you deploy? How do you deploy a project that involves Node server and client code? So there's so many different ways that you can do this and different services that cost money, that are free. I'm going to look at a couple different basic options for doing that in the next project. The next project, by the way, is called The Weather Here, and it's also a project by Joey Lee for a course at ITP that I'm basing my examples off of. So thank you again, Joey Lee, for all of your help in preparing material for me to use in this series. But before I do any of that, I want to just do a little bit of cleanup on this project and talk about some things that you might consider adding to it as a technical exercise before you move on. But before I do any of that, I want to just, in this video, do a little cleanup, reorganize the code a tiny bit, and suggest a bunch of technical exercises or creative exercises even that you might try to tackle yourself before you move on to the next project. Okay. Okay. Now, so that's good. And then, so let me go to the reorganizing thing. Now, let me put this back here. Let me clear the database and restart the server. The first thing that I want to do with this project is just give myself a little bit more to work with in this public The first thing that I want to do the first thing that I want to do as a simple cleanup step is to give myself a bit more to work with in this public folder. Right now, everything is in 2 HTML files. So one thing that I think would make sense to do is to make maybe a directory called logs, and then have this all.html live in there, and then maybe call that index.html. So in other words, right now I'm just changing it so that I can go to the root. Right now I'm changing it so that you can just go to the homepage, index.html, or /logs to see maybe the logs from the database. So that's a little bit nicer to put that in a separate folder, which becomes like a path on the server itself. The reason why I want to do that is because I can't make a new file here. The reason why I want to do that also is because I want to put my JavaScript code in a separate file. So if I go now here into Visual Studio Code, I can create some new files. So for example, I'm going to create a file in logs called, what would be the standard thing, like main.js, app.js? Hey, I see Eric Paulson in typing. I haven't seen Eric in a while. Boosting. No, this is my mellow Schiffman series. Is it too mellow? I mean, I could call it sketch.js. I like calling things sketch.js. That's sort of non-traditional. Why not, though? I'm using P5. Should I call it main.js? I do have some coffee. Will that help? Main.js, says Simon. Always listen to Simon. It's something that I've learned in my life. Script.js, that's good. I could call this file main.js or script.js, app.js, index.js, but I'm going to call it, it's a little bit odd, I'm going to call it sketch.js. The reason why I'm calling it that is because that's a kind of typical name that's used with projects with the P5 library, which I'm using in this project. So I'll call it sketch.js. And then I'm also going to add, just in the public directory itself, another file also called sketch.js. Oh, I don't know if I like that. They should have different names. Oh, wait, hold on. I'll call that main.js. Hold on. I think what I'll do is I'll call it logs.js, because I'm a weirdo. Navigating over to Visual Studio Code, I can see that I have my public directory. Now I have the logs directory with index.html, and then I have just in the root directory another index.html file. So now it's time. What I want to do is add, and I'm going to do this in public, I'm going to add a file called, I don't know, script.js, main.js. Let's call it sketch.js. So I like to use sketch.js because it's a sort of naming convention for the P5 library. It may be a little atypical for JavaScript, but ultimately the goal here is to put my JavaScript code in a separate file. So I'll call that sketch.js. And then I also want to put in the logs directory a file, and I'll just call that logs.js, just to give it a different file name. So I now have separate JavaScript files. I now have separate JavaScript files for each one of these pages. I also might want to have a CSS file, which is, sorry, well, I'm going to take my watch off because it's beeping at me with text messages. Could just turn it on Do Not Disturb. I also might want to have a CSS file for I also might want to have a CSS file, CSS for, okay. I also might want to have a CSS file, CSS for a cascading style sheet. Learning all about CSS is a bit beyond the scope of what I'm doing in this series, but I can refer you to some other, no. I'm also going to create, just in the root directory, another file called style.css. Now, CSS itself Now, CSS itself is beyond the scope. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. Is that right? Cascading Style Sheet or Sheets? Cascading Style Sheets, okay. CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheets, and is where you can define a lot of information about color and layout and fonts for your project, is well beyond the scope of what I'm doing in this series, but I'll show you how to put a little boilerplate in there to get you started with redesigning the page if that's something that interests you. Okay. So step one, let's go to index.html and let's find all of this code that was in the script tag and let's remove it. So I'm going to say all that code, I'm going to remove it, and I'm now going to put it in to sketch.js. So I just copy pasted all of the code that was right there in the script tag in index.html and put it in a separate JavaScript file. Then in index.html, where I have that script tag, I can actually just say source equals sketch.js. So really, this is identical to what I had before. It's just that instead of having all of it in there, I'm now referencing a separate file, which is going to make things a lot easier to maintain and develop. So, and I'll do exactly the same thing here with the data selfie app. I'm sorry. And I'll do exactly the same thing here. And I'll do exactly the same thing here with the logs file. So let me grab all of this. Let me put this in logs.js. Let me go back here to index.html and save and say source equal logs.js. Great. So hopefully the project's just going to work as it did before. I'm going to test in a second. Before I do that, let me also reference style.css. So to do that, I have no idea how to do that. I go to P5 Web Editor, which is where I learn all my HTML from. Link related equal, okay, let's put this in my clipboard. What is the link element HTML? Okay, this we can use to animate in. This. What is REL? What is that attribute? REL. REL. href attribute. And why is it called REL attribute? Rel attribute? What is the REL? Relationship. Got it, in the links document. Okay. Href, okay. Right, link. Relationship, okay. To reference a style sheet, I can use the link element. To reference a style sheet, I can use the HTML link element, and I just need to use the REL attribute, or relationship attribute, to say it's a style sheet, and then the href attribute, which is the hyperlink reference, I don't know. Definition. What does href stand for? What does href stand for? Whoops. Hypertext reference, of course. Okay. To add an external style sheet to a web page, I can use the link element with two attributes. Well, more than two, but the key ones that I want to point out are the REL, or relationship attribute. That says, oh, this is going to be a style sheet. And then the href attribute, which is short for hypertext reference. That's just the file, the text that I'm referencing itself. And it looks just like this. Whoops. And I can insert that right here in the header tag. Oh, I'm in logs. I want to be in Sketch. No, I mean in index. And I can insert that right in the header tag of the HTML page, right where I'm referencing the P5JS libraries. I'll put that right here. I'm just going to paste this line of text in here. You can see it's a link, it's a style sheet, its type is CSS, and the href is the file style.css. So if I put that here, and then I also, if I go to index.html in the logs directory, I can put that here, but if I want to reference the same style sheet, it's up one directory from the logs directory, so I need to say .. which will say look for style.css one directory behind this one. Let's see if any errors or anything that I haven't thought of emerged now that I moved the JavaScript into separate files as well as adding a style sheet. Oops. Let's look and see. So now I'm going to reload the page and see if anything breaks now that I moved the JavaScript code into separate files and added a style sheet. Something always breaks. Oh, look at that. Seems to be working. Latitude, longitude. Let me add some entries. Oh, wait. Hold on. Let's do that again. Oh. Let's go and refresh. The real question now is anything going to break? All I've done is move the JavaScript code into a separate file and added a blank style.css style sheet. So hopefully nothing will break. It'll work as is. I'm going to go over to the web page and I'm going to refresh it. You know, one thing that I want to do, just I think, is make this image a little bit smaller. It's a little bit silly that I'm doing this now, but just to see that we can continue to edit the code, I'm going to go here and change this to 160 by 120 and refresh the page. Okay, there's the image. Let me add a few things to the database. They're all going to be rainbow. And now if I go to list, okay, so one thing broke, right? I have in the nav bar going to something called /all.html, and now what I do is go to /logs. So that's important for me to fix. So let me go back to index.html and change this to logs. And I have the duplicate navbar in both places. Again, this is not a series about sort of web development, but you could use a templating engine and all sorts of mechanisms for designing a full-blown sort of like web application. But I'm doing things in kind of like simple ways. So I'm just going to change this in two places. And so now let me go back and hit refresh. And I should now be able to go to list. It takes me to logs, and there we go. There's all the logs from the database. And I can go back to enter. Just to make sure this is still working, I'm going to hit Mango. And then I'm going to go back to list, and I should see there's Mango there. And this leads me to the next, okay. Oh. Okay. So let's do one more thing. Let's add a little bit of CSS just to see how that affects the layout. So I'm going to go to style.css, which is completely empty, and let me add something for paragraph elements. So I'm going to say P, and then put curly brackets in. I'm going to say padding, and I'm going to give it a padding of 10 pixels. I'm going to say background color, and I'll give it a nice background color of FFAAFF. I'm just making this up on the spot. I think these are semicolons, not commas. Oh, we can see actually Visual Studio Code is telling me what color it is. Perfect. And so now, if I save that and I go back to that logs page, we can see, there we go. I've now added a little CSS for a little bit of layout. So this is now my exercise to you. Think more carefully about the design and view of these pages. Hold on. Hold on. I want to mention something about accessibility. So I just want to mention something about accessibility. CAG checker extension. Chrome extension. This one's the one I'm looking for. Okay. Oh, why am I getting this? This won't actually work, will it? Yeah. Oh, there we go. I don't know why. 5 errors. Yeah, oh, no alt text. Okay, great. All right. I forgot to change all to logs and logs index.html. I'm pretty sure I did it in both places, but I'll double check. Oh. Shoot. Well, hopefully that will be fine. Okay. Let me just see what I get for here. Also, if I do this. One error. A form control does not have a corresponding label. Okay, great. Manipulating the CSS is a good segue also into thinking about accessibility. So what does WCAG stand for? In order for a website to be accessible, it should meet the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines requirements. And one of the things that I use to do this is a Chrome extension from Wave. Wave. Wave, Web Accessibility Evaluation Tool. What does Wave stand for? WebAIM. One of the things that I use for this is a Chrome extension called Wave, which is from WebAIM or Web Accessibility in Mind. So I have this Chrome, I'll include a link to the Wave evaluation tool in this video's description, and I have it already installed here in my browser. So once you have the Chrome extension installed, you should be able, once you have the Chrome, okay. Once you have the Chrome extension installed, I can see up here in the top right, I have a little button with a W. So I'm gonna remove the JavaScript console and click this button, and we can see here, I have 5 errors, 5 things about my page don't meet the web accessibility, the web content, sorry. I have 5 errors, 5 things about this page don't meet the accessibility guidelines. So I can hover over here and see image alternative text is not present. So anytime you have an image on a web page, it should have alt text, which is a text, alternative text, a text description of what's in that image. That's so a screen reader, so somebody who uses a screen reader can hear that read out loud, the contents of that image. So I'm going to add that to my, code. Where do I add that? It would just be under image source, image alt. I'm going to add that to my code right here, image.alt. And I should have been doing this from the start, not really after the fact, but that's sort of how it ended up happening in this video. Well, I'm going to add that here into my code. I mean, I really should have thought of this right when I was doing it, but at least I'm taking the time to do it now. I don't know. Fine, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to add that into my code. It's as easy as saying image.alt, and I'm going to say Dan Schiffman making silly faces. And once I do that, I can go back here and refresh this page. I should be able to hit the checker again, and we can see I have no more errors. So that's great, and you can see that the alt text is being shown here. Let's also go to the data entry page and check for accessibility there. And we have one error, which is right here. My form doesn't have a label. So it's important for, again, for a screen reader, for this form to have a label to say what should go in there. So that's an easy thing for me to fix. I can go to index.html and find where I have that input. Do I just add an attribute called label? Let's see. How do I add a label? It's a separate, like, label for. Oh, it needs an ID. Label for. Okay. Oh, it has an ID mood. I can go here and I can add a label element. So I can just say label, then I can say for equals, and I want this label to be for this input element. So I put mood in here, and then I'll just say what the label is. Enter your mood. So that's now a label saying enter your mood. And if I go back to the page, whoops. And if I go back to the page and hit refresh, hit the wave checker again, now I have no more errors. Now what's this pink thing here? Oh, the label shows up. That's fine. That's fine. What's this HTML5 and ARIA? I guess I'll just ignore that. Now, of course, there's a lot more to web design and accessibility, but I just want to emphasize this as something that you should consider and think about with every web application you make. And I will include some links to resources for more about web accessibility in this video's description. Okay. I should probably use absolute paths. Okay, all logs. So absolute paths would be like this. Yes. What did I do? Let me try two things. This can either go in later, or I'll just like, it'll be in, like this can, Mathieu, this could go back earlier. Also, it's worth noting that when you're entering in the path, also it's worth noting that here while I'm entering in the path to the logs, I should use something called an absolute path, which would have the slash at the beginning. So this means it's always going to go to /logs. A relative path wouldn't have that slash and would be going to wherever you are /logs. In this tiny little example, it doesn't make that much of a difference, but that's an important thing to mention. And I'll also go and add that into logs, the logs file here as well. So Mathieu, maybe that can get put back in earlier, and hopefully that'll work. All right. Did I do that wrong? Hold on. Yeah, I said it correctly, right? Yeah. Okay. So what's next for you? You can move on to the next project where I'm going to add... So what's next for you? You can move on to the next project where I'm going to start looking at how to do more from Node itself, accessing data from other APIs, and then adding that to the database. So what's next for you? You can move on to the next project. One of the focuses there will be accessing data from external APIs from Node itself and sending that information to the client. And that opens up a lot of possibilities. But there are some exercises you could try to expand what I've built. In this project. So one simple thing is the data logs, they just kind of are shown on that page in arbitrary order, whatever order they come back from the database. So how might you sort them? Could you even create buttons to sort them in different ways? Sort them alphabetically by mood, sort them descending by timestamp. That's something that you could try. You also might want to consider what happens when there's hundreds or thousands or potentially millions of entries in the database. Of course, our simple database system with saving the base64 encoded image into the database might break down at such scale, but even thinking about how you might have to page through all of that data or just show the first 10 entries on one page is something you could think about doing. In terms of thinking about how you're working with the image data, looking at how you would save the image as a file and save the path to that file in the database would also be a nice exercise to try. And then, of course, putting your own creative spin on the layout and thinking about how you're going to design the interaction and the look and feel of this web application itself. You might also want to take a look at Joey Lee's version, the original version of this project, which has some nice CSS styling built into it itself as well. You also might want to take a look at the original version of this project, Joey Lee's. You also might want to take a look at the original version of this project by Joey Lee, and his example that he built has some nice CSS styling built into it that you could build on top of as well. You also might want to take a look at the original version of this project from Joey Lee, and you also might want to take a look at the original version of this project, which was built by Joey Lee, and he's used some CSS templates. Is that a thing? You also might want to take a look at the original CSS. Oh my God, my words are all blending together. It's as if I have a teleprompter, but I just do it over and over again. You also might want to take a look at the original version of this project by Joey Lee that can serve as inspiration. I'm going to get this. You also might want to take a look at the original version of this project by Joey Lee. He's built it with a lot of CSS styling. That could serve as inspiration. You can kind of... What am I saying? I'm saying a thing. Okay. You also might want to take a look at the original version of this project by Joey Lee. His version includes quite a bit of CSS that might serve as inspiration for you that you could build on top of. Yes! Finally, if you want to get really fancy, and this might be something that I come back and revisit again in a future video, is you could start to actually analyze the image itself. So there's a JavaScript library. Maybe I'm not going to include that. I feel like that's good enough. People will think of this stuff themselves. Right. If you're feeling saucy, another thing. Finally, you could also think about doing more with the image. So you can manipulate the pixels of the image or have the user draw on top of the image. Finally, you could think about doing more creative stuff with the image itself. Maybe you're going to manipulate the image. Finally, you could think about doing something creative with the image. Finally, you might think about trying to do something more creative with the image. P5, after all, allows you to have the full... Also, you might think about doing... Finally, you might think about doing something more creative with the image. After all, P5 has the full capabilities of HTML Canvas built in that library. So you could have the user draw on the image, save it to the database. Maybe you could incorporate another type of computer vision JavaScript library. There's one called FaceAPI.js that can analyze the expression that the person is making in the image. So there's a lot of possibilities of sort of creative twists you could explore on just having the image from the webcam itself. I hope you enjoyed watching me build this project. I hope you learned something. I hope it inspires you to make your own project. And in this, I hope you enjoyed watching me build this project. Thank you again to Joey Lee for helping to prepare the materials that I hope you enjoyed watching me build this project. It sounds so robotic all of a sudden. I hope you enjoyed watching me build this project. Thank you again so much to Joey Lee for all of the help and inspiration in building the original Data Selfie app. And if you're interested in sticking with me, I've got one more to make the weather here, and we're going to look at some more stuff in the next video. Okay. I hope you enjoyed watching me build this project. Thank you again, Joey Lee, for all of your help in building the material. I hope you enjoyed watching me build this project. Thank you again, Joey Lee, for the original Data Selfie app and all the inspiration for creating this set of tutorials. And I'll be back if you're interested in sticking along with one more project called The Weather Here. We're going to look at where I'm going to look at getting data from APIs into Node itself, as well as how to deploy this project onto the web somewhere. I'll just If you want to stick with me, I've got one more project. It's part of this series called The Weather Here, and I'm going to start building that in the next video. Okay. I'll just do that end thing one more time, just in case, all at once. Thanks so much for watching me build this project. Thank you again so much. I sing so much a lot. I hope you enjoyed watching me build this project. Thanks again so much to Joey Lee for the original Data Selfie app, which I used to base all of this material on. And if you're interested, I've got one more project to build as part of this series, also based on material from Joey Lee, and it's called The Weather Here. So stick around in the next video. I'm going to start making it. Goodbye. Okay. Ta-da! So now I don't know, I've really got to do the last one. So now I've done here, and there's one more. Let me edit this page. So capturing images is recorded, and wrap up module 2. So which is like, is also in there, is recorded, yes. Okay, so. Okay, so here we are. Okay, so I've got to do this. So by the way, oh, you don't see what I'm doing. Sorry, everybody. So I'm just looking at this outline. Just so you know, the deadline for all of this to be completed and published on YouTube is May 31st, basically the end of this month. Which doesn't seem so crazy, but there's a lot more work for Mathieu to do beyond just like in terms of editing. So even though I'm in really good shape having recorded the stuff, and so hopefully, I don't think I'm going to have time to do this tomorrow, but I think on Monday I'm going to try to do Monday or Tuesday, because I'm leaving on Wednesday to go out of town, I'm going to try to do a member-only live stream to do this last project. And if I can reduce this somehow, that might be good. I mean, to be honest, I've fulfilled the requirements of what I proposed to YouTube just through Module 2. Because this is like a ton of content, more than is required. But I feel like the full story of all this really needs API from within Node, with dealing with hiding the API keys, and some sort of deployment. So I was thinking of using Glitch. It's not really a place to show like how you could have the project run online, or I could also like run it on DigitalOcean. But I'm like averse to using a commercial service that people have to pay for, especially if they're not sponsoring it. So Glitch at least is free. But if you have better suggestions, you know, Clojure is right. I have a lot of issues with Clojure. Right, so that's where I am with all this. Let me hit stop. I'm gonna get going. I'm gonna hit stop recording. I'm not gonna hit stop streaming yet. Anybody have anything they want to ask or say before I go? Let me do stop here. Save this as screen capture May 2nd, 2019. Save. Okay. Let me start uploading to Google Drive. Whoops. Is the stream off? No, I'm still streaming. Bring this back over here. Drive. Coding Rainbow. The Google Drive folder is still called Coding Rainbow, by the way. So today is May 2nd. Data. Oh, sure. May 2nd, data and APIs. Okay. So now I'm going to take the file from the desktop, which is 6 GB, and start uploading it. Stream is on. Okay, good. Oh, sorry. When I when I type, I mean not talk. Looking at my email. All right, this is uploading. So I think I'm going to shut this off. Anybody else have anything else they want to say before I go? Doesn't look like it. So I'll see you all. I mean, if a miracle happens, I'm going to do some more of this tomorrow morning. But more likely, if I'm going to have time to do it, it's going to be Monday morning. So I'll see you all soon. I'll see you in the Slack. Blah, 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 blah. And let me find the page where I click stop streaming somewhere. Where is the dashboard? Oh, wait. Is there a question? I see Johnny De Blasi. When does the invite to the Slack channel come through? Johnny, if you're still watching, you need to get the Google form link. And do I have that here? No, not this link. A form. Go to live form. So you need to fill out this form. This process might change, but this is the process right now. So I'm pasting this into the YouTube chat. Okay, I pasted the link to the form. And so fill that out, and then I'll send you the Slack invite. Okay, so now I'm shutting off the stream. I don't understand where my... Oh, there it is. Manage my live streams. Let me just switch it to here. Okay, goodbye, everybody.